Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the March 15, 2022 Effingham Board of Selectmen's meeting. Before we get started, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, as we get going, Lenny doesn't normally wear a mask. He's wearing one this morning because he's got a head cold. So that's the reason he's got the mask on at this point.
It's all going around, Joe.
Yep.
It's all going around.
All right. Make a motion to approve the selectmen's meeting minutes for March 9, 2022.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Aye.
Approval, make a motion to approve the manifest dated March 17, 2022 in the amount of $10,361.04.
Second.
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
Aye.
In the mail folder, there was a notice of a shoreland impact permit from DES. There was a notice of hearing of Board of Tax and Land Appeals. And there was correspondence between regarding the Waddington zoning application between a local citizen and the New Hampshire Solid Waste Management Bureau Department of Environmental Services. Town administrator comments.
I had 191A request, but there's a few still outstanding. I'm waiting for Mike to come to the office to look at some files, and then I'm still working on getting him copies of last week's manifests. Mr. Edwards should have received the CMA engineering study. I sent that to you. We have a new investment policy up on the website. When I talked to NHMA, they had asked for support on House Bill 1033. So I sent a letter to our state reps, and one of them responded that they weren't aware of it. So I haven't looked at the status this week to see if it has failed. The goal is they wanted the New Hampshire Municipal Association not to be funded by towns because they lobby. Basically, they are in the State House watching what happens and represent the town's interests. So we wanted to support them so that they could continue to do what they do for us.
Otherwise, we could not fund them to do any of that. So any of the funding we pay for our services would not be able to be used on our behalf.
Right, and so if we had interest in one of the bills at the state, one of the selectmen or employees would have to be there present at the State House to represent the town, which we don't want to incur that cost. I met Kevin, and he needed new or more weight limit to 6-ton signs. So those are orders that came in. He should be in today to pick them up.
And we talked last week's meeting that we would post those as soon as possible. When I left the meeting, Snow Road had already been posted, so they were out there doing it on Tuesday.
Right, exactly. And it's on the website, and it was posted in the paper. Lenny, when you speak, maybe you can just go over the rules. I couldn't find them in any of our policies. So when people call, what are we supposed to tell them? So I just want to make sure we have that clear. Let's see. I did speak to the auditor about reconciling with the treasurer because I had a concern. I was very concerned going with her report that I couldn't match the revenue in Deanna's office. And what they said is that as long as I tag to the cash amount, we're good, because the auditor will use our QuickBooks. And if they find discrepancies with the treasurer, they will write it up at that time. So I let that go before town meeting because that was stressing me. And
I had actually talked to Elaine back a month or two ago when some of this was going on, a month ago. and suggested after the new select board is in place, that she schedule time to come in and meet with the staff, with the select board, and review processes and procedures that she used as treasurer. Because I've never had anybody fully explain that to me, so it's like, it'd be nice for everybody to hear it.
Yeah, I think what the auditors are gonna request and what NHMA had said is they're gonna recommend that we start getting the monthly report that we can reconcile to, so we can move forward after the audit. I guess it might be the easiest way, having a third party step in. Darlene's out this morning, otherwise we have a regular week and get centered outside of town meeting and voting and get back to what we're doing. So if you have any priorities for me, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to catch up on my list and personnel policy, finish that 191A request. And that's it.
Okay, Lenny.
As far as the roads, we don't have anything written out. I mean, most truckers know that if it freezes up at night, come in early in the morning and get out before things start to soften up, but we don't have anything written out as per se. I mean, once the roads are posted, they're posted, but
We've lived by the RSA, which is pretty clear. The other thing we've done too is we've worked with the state DOT up on 153 around what their process is. So the comment I made last week that if it's the night before and it's below freezing, deliver before 9 AM is actually something they allow in their procedures. So we basically verbally adopted that 2 years ago.
and everything else, I'm gonna wait for a full board.
Okay.
Except there was one thing, I'll check with JT. I was reading in that Town and City magazine that we have to register our ADDs with the state Department of Safety.
I didn't read that. I mean, I haven't read that
Yeah,
book yet.
I didn't know it. It's in there, so I'll check with him and see if they are. That way, state knows where every AED is. So if they need one, if somebody's on 911 and they need one, they can tell them where it is. The GPS them, I guess.
I think Randy has come through as someone from the state to inspect them in the past.
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I'll check with JT.
But we need to update them anyway. We just, whatever, with a new person coming in, it's like, just don't wait for a number cycle, just do it now rather than start a new cycle.
And that's all I'm gonna bring up. right
Okay.
now.
The I'm just thinking new business, hold on. It looks like new business and old business. Okay. So let's dive into the new business part. So as a result of the town meeting and the passing of the operating budget, payroll raises for employees will start the week of April 3rd, which is a Monday. Going forward, that gives us our 39 weeks, which is part of what's there. The treasurer will need access to the invoice cloud at, I believe, $10 a month to be able to do what she needs to do. And I know you've suggested putting it in her budget. My question is there a line item for that? Or do we basically put it in the select board budget? And when we get to the fall planning for next year's budget, we add a line item to include that.
She has a budget for bank fees, which would cover it.
Perfect.
There's very few bank fees,
Good.
but my recommendation is that we create a line item. So we know what it is for, software access or something, whatever we call the other departments. Just so next year we remember to budget it in.
Do we want to create that line item now into the existing budget or wait till
Yeah.
next year?
No, we can create it now.
You okay with that, Mr.
Yeah, you
Manager?
can go into bank charges or a separate.
That's, I
because
mean,
the
bank charges,
charges
it's
are
what it
already
is.
there.
It's what it is, the
It's
bank
already
charge.
there, and it is a bank charge, so I don't even see the need for another line item in the budget to actual. I think that we could live with that, but if Audrey wants it, it's fine, and I'll put it on the budget sheet, and I'll find either way that makes you feel more comfortable.
I'm just trying to keep the number of lines to that down.
Right.
I don't want to be like some of the other towns where it's like 400, 500 lines long.
Just let me know what you want to do, and then that way, before I put the sheet before my budget meeting, so I have that one updated for the right one.
We also have in here today, 2 appointments to the Historic District Commission that need to be completed by the select boards. I'll make a motion to approve Eric Jones as one of the Historic District Commission members.
Second,
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
aye,
I'll make a motion to approve Mike Conti as a Historic District Commission member.
second,
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
aye,
In old business, we have, as a result of the Bailey Road Bridge warrant article passing this weekend, we signed the award letter this morning. So I guess we ought to make a motion to award to Dawson, because I don't know if we've specifically done that yet. So Jake Dawson Excavation and Water Utility Services LLC.
second, that,
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
aye,
And the HEB contract for professional oversight fees, so they can begin to start the project, and make a motion to approve that.
second,
All those in favor, Fuller, aye.
aye,
Those items have been previously discussed. Historic Town Hall project, library, powder post beetle project. One of the questions that came up in the walkthrough yesterday was whether the logs and lumber from the joists that are gonna be pulled out, those powder post beetle logs, could be moved to the transfer station for disposal to reduce the cost. Do we have any issue with that at all?
no,
And I don't know what it's going to entail, but we were either gonna have to require the company to do it, which means somebody's gonna have to be there to open up the transfer station at different hours of the entire work week. Or we can schedule with Ron and have Ron pick it up. We can work on it to figure out how to keep it to a small number of truckloads and bring it down. The other thing is that they're going to need demo dumpsters. And my suggestion was we use the town contract, because we've got a really good price on hauling for that. So the sheet rock and whatever needs to go in it from the demo, and it probably isn't gonna be more than 1 dumpster anyway, because most of it's wood. But I thought it would be worth bringing up, to have to check into it and find out what waste management could do or not do.
would you want a 30 outer or 40 outer, or?
At this point, I think we should wait until we get the bids back, which is the first part of April when they're due, and see what people are putting in it for price
Yeah,
tags.
okay,
And if the price tag is reasonable enough, we can basically put it on them. So I think a 30 yarder will end up doing it based on what's scheduled for that project. I have another discussion, which I'm gonna save until after the select board sets next week, regarding lumber for the beams and the flooring that will need to go in. I want to make sure the full board is involved with that decision on what to do with that and how to make that work. Fire chief salary, as a result of the meeting last week, or on Saturday, the town warrant article failed for the fire chief salary position. And it was, the operating budget was amended to add that recommended shortfall for 39 weeks, $6,447 to the part-time budget. And if you look at the 2 days a week that have been committed at the new April rate of $15.77 an hour, 2 days a week, 10 hours a day, plus 4 hours a month for training and administration. The part-time budget plus the $6,447 covers that entire bill, which works out to $20 an hour. Because we didn't lock it as a salary in that meeting, meaning that that's what that person would have gotten paid for the year, he now falls into the structure of the part-time schedule, work whatever number of hours he wants, Still has to make it fit within his budget. And he would also be qualified, as the previous chief was, for any service call stipends that are paid. So Randy had $6,700 in total last year. When we were doing the recruitment process in the fall, we were using a number at that time of 5,700. So that was basically, we were going to eliminate the stipend piece by having the $25,000 salary, but because that didn't pass, it's now the hourly rate plus the service call rate, which will be determined this year. So the number could be above or below what we were projecting at 25,000, based on the way the town elected to pass the system. So I know there's some questions Audrey had in pulling some stuff together, so let's dive into it.
So I have the agreement he signed, and it's for 2 daytime, 2 days of coverage, so 20 hours there. And approximately 2 weeks ago, the chief presented his new daytime or his stipend amounts and how they calculated based on points. So based on points, he would be.
That was part of the town meeting. Town meeting is going to supersede his rate sheet for the chief pay. The town voted to add $6,447 to the budget, which means that works out at 24 hours a week to $20.03 an hour. What didn't get, I can see the question, what didn't? It's his rate sheet that he's got has nothing to do with what was passed at the meeting on Saturday.
Well, I guess I leaked in my mind. So as I was completing the personnel forms yesterday for increases for the various staff, we have staff that do daytime coverage, and the daytime coverage folks get paid an hourly rate, $14, $15, $16 based on that rate sheet. So JT had given us.
But that rate sheet doesn't apply to JT as a result of the town meeting on Saturday. Because he gets the, whatever the base rate was, the difference between that and $20 an hour is that $6,447. So he gets the, what it will be the new base rate without any kind of markup for line officer position, plus what was approved for that line item by the town. When you calculate it back at 24 hours a week, it's $20 an hour.
The way his agreement is signed is for 2 daytime coverages at $15 an hour. And that
Prior to the proposed newly created part-time fire chief position at the town meeting, the warrant article, he would receive pay based on what was put in here. An annualized rate of 21.2, 1,040 hours, responding to emergencies with a stipend. Subject to town meeting approval, he was going to move to 25,000.
all right.
So the
how-
town meeting
Okay.
was what changed that time frame, changed that one paragraph,
Mhm.
not applicable anymore.
Okay. I apologize, I missed that.
Okay,
So I need to come up with an hourly rate.
I just gave you the spreadsheet. I sent it to you yesterday.
Yes. So it's my understanding that he will get paid when he goes out on emergencies, the stipend amount. Is that stipend amount part of the 25,000?
No, he doesn't have a $25,000 limit. There is no limit for the fire chief based on the way the town meeting approved the budget.
Okay, so I guess I need you to walk me through your spreadsheet because
Sure.
I don't know how to apply that.
Okay, so 2 days a week at $20 an hour, 10 hours a day. 4 days a week, 4 hours a week at $20 an hour, 24 hours a week at $20 an hour. That's it. If he gets called out on a fire call, his stipend rate would apply. And we'll need to verify that with labor because I'm not sure we can, for the same person in the same department, go with two different hourly rate differences. It's the same person in the same position, so it's not like what we're doing with Brad under that contract.
So what was your total annual amount of that?
18,720 plus whatever the variable rate is for stipend. So if it ends up being the run rate that Randy had is roughly an additional $4,200. So depending on what happens for actual activity, it'll be above or below that number.
Okay, so are you adding together the 1577 and 423? That's the $20 an hour.
No, the difference between the hourly rate,
Yeah,
which is 1577, and 20 is $4.23.
right.
When you take a look at what's in blue, that number actually adds up to slightly less than $6,447.
Mhm.
That's what was approved at town meeting. So the regular rate at 1577 for 20 hours comes out to 12 grand. The additional 4 hours at $20 an hour is 3,100. The difference between the day rate and $20 an hour is $3,299, which is the 6,400 and I believe 20 something or 39. And because we didn't lock in our liability by having the chief's salary position put in there, he's now eligible for service call payments.
Okay, so that's where. So on top of the 18,720, he'll get stipend for emergency calls.
Yep.
Okay. Under the administrative management and training, training in the past has all been stipend pay. So on a Saturday morning when there was training, Randy would give us a stipend sheet.
This is no longer a stipend.
Okay,
It's 4 hours a week.
so the chief only gets stipends if he does an emergency call. That's what I'm hearing. Okay.
Yep.
And
So next year, we get a chance to revisit, let's do a salary position and kind of lock in the prices for the town. So there's no variable components to it. It's like, here's what it is. This year, we'll actually get some good examples of what the job will actually entail. So we'll have an idea whether a number like 25,000 is good or not.
okay, so the stipend for a year could be 5,000 or 10,000 based on the fire costs.
Well, Randy gave us, when we were doing the recruiting process last year, he gave us through the beginning of the fall when we started that. He had been paid a stipend of $5,700.
Right.
He finished the year, I believe you said at $6,700. So it's a variable amount. It depends on the number of calls.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, Lenny, any questions?
That was very confusing.
Okay, well, that's why, and I would just keep
No.
this, and that way if you need to refer back to it, you got it. I'm sorry, did you say yes or no?
It's just got-
No, Carl.
Okay. All right. Let's see.
My mother told me never take candy from strangers.
All right. Any announcements? Audrey, Lenny?
No.
Chief of Police is here. Next item on the agenda is department updates. What do you have for us, sir?
All right. Well, I wasn't able to make the meetings for December and January, so I have the statistics for those ones if you want as well. Might as well be there.
Yes.
So going back to December, we had 274 calls for service during that month, 6 arrests, 68 motor vehicle stops, and there were 8 motor vehicle accidents. Busy month for drivers.
for a small town.
for a small town.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's nothing serious or anything like that, but. All right, so that was December. January, we had 334 calls for service, so they were up. 5 arrests, 60 motor vehicle stops, 3 car accidents, so they smartened up a little bit for January. And February, 308 calls for service, so they've gotten above the 300 mark. We were in the 250, 260, but it's weather's getting warmer, I guess. With 4 arrests, 72 motor vehicle stops, and 2 accidents. One was fairly serious on Green Mountain Road. Actually, that was this month. I apologize. The 2 last month were both minor. We had 2 canine deployments last month. Both were drug related. So that's working out well. No tracks or anything like that. So I guess that's a good thing, depending on how you look at it. Other than that, things are going great.
I know I see the cruiser out on the roads, so I know some patrol is taking place.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, most of and these calls for service don't include our directed patrols, which we log ourselves, which gives us a number. Every time we, hit a road, we log it so that there's a running log of everything that we're patrolling and things like that. And that's a whole separate set of numbers too, so. But yeah, the guys are out there and Tyler's doing great. He's pounding the pavement and no complaints from us.
Good.
No complaints from us.
Lenny, any questions?
No, just the person we talked about Saturday at town meeting is back in town.
Okay. Yep, yes. Yes, yeah. Yes.
Are there any questions from the audience while you have the chief of police here?
Well, 2 comments, I
Yes,
guess,
ma'am.
not really questions. The white vans from Green Mountain,
Mhm.
from High Watch.
Yeah.
They are driving like mad people
Are they?
again.
Okay,
Yeah, they don't even
Okay.
stop to make corners, they just kind of go around.
do they? Okay,
Yep,
call
also
that.
the trailers that were on Green Mountain, there was 3 of them, now there's only 1, but they're trash. They're leaving it, it's blowing all over Green Mountain Road.
it is, okay, all right. All right,
Because they took 1 camper totally apart, and I don't know what they did with the stuff, but it's just everywhere.
strewn
You
everything.
probably saw it the other day, didn't you? All the trash in front of their place.
No, but I saw the camper going, that small camper going.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's 1 still in there,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
all right. All right,
I know.
it's something to
she-
look at.
She just
Absolutely.
stopped by and said that she was moving in with her uncle, but God knows.
God knows is
And
right.
hopefully they take their mess with them.
God
One day
knows
at a
is
time,
right.
yeah.
God knows what they do,
That's
maybe
right.
in the mind is one thing.
Yeah, so, yeah. Nope, but I appreciate that. We will certainly take care of that.
Okay.
Not a problem.
Any other questions or comments for the chief?
Oh, you're very welcome.
Go forth and keep the public safe.
Yes, sir. I'll catch up with you later on personnel
Thank
stuff.
Oh, before you go, one thing, you had mentioned before, we were gonna be looking at bringing on a part-timer to help with prosecutions. Were you successful in that?
Oh, yeah, that's actually been ongoing now for a little bit and it's going fantastic.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's freed up a lot of my time, so that's good.
So,
That's good.
so for folks that aren't aware, the chief of police by statute is in charge of being the prosecutor for stuff that comes out of the department, unless the department has a prosecutor or negotiates with another town to use their services as a prosecutor. And it's not something that you can just jump into and just go do it, because there's a process you have to learn from a legal standpoint. We're fortunate enough to have a part-time person that's part of the department now that actually does that a lot as a regular job. So we actually call it a professional person and a part-time salary.
Yeah, he does a fantastic job. And with Tyler on now, who's unbelievably active, the number of arrests and things like that, you gotta have somebody who kind of knows what they're doing. I did it when I first got here. I'd never done prosecution before. And
You'd always delegated it.
I'd always been able to help, yeah. So it was a little bit of a challenge, when you have 1 or 2 cases here and there, when it was just me working here alone for a while, it was fairly easy. But when you get more activity, it gets to be quite a challenge.
Okay, and then one last statement.
Sure.
I told the sergeant in the last week that now we're by town meeting. Grace and I would work on that 501c3 filing paperwork. So we have the domain name,
Very
so we
good.
got that locked in. Nobody can take it.
Very good.
But we do now need to do the paperwork, and she and I will do that within the next few weeks.
Good. I believe he's got funds waiting
There are.
to come in to start.
Yeah, and there was a question that came up. I don't know if it was voting day or, yeah, I guess it was voting day, that somebody had seen patches out online. And
Yeah.
I reminded the person or informed the person that I know we have an agreement with a gentleman that has designed the patch
Correct.
and is making it available on his site, and we are getting into, because in the police community, there's a lot of collectibles. People collect the patches from departments of all kinds. It's a big,
It's a huge thing.
big business. And this guy basically produces patches. And when he launched that a month and a half ago, he was getting orders from on the other side of the planet. So it's like, it's all over the world. People are ordering the patches, and we're getting a portion of that, which will come to the 501c3 to benefit the K9 and training for officers. So,
Just another way to.
So accidents,
Mhm.
do you always, if anyone's injured, do you always call for rescue or?
So-
Or do you ever take anyone to the hospital or?
Oh, boy,
whatever?
no, not, we usually don't, no. The way it is over here logistically, it's just as quick for them to go by. I mean, if I arrived at somebody's house and it was like serious life or death and I had to get, I'd do what I had to do, but
Okay,
typically we don't do that. Any motor vehicle accident, if the vehicle has any type of fluid leaking, generally that triggers the response by the fire department and rescue at that
Okay.
point in time, which is kind of synonymous with injury because of, you know, good chance it's probably injury if you damage your vehicle enough to warrant that. But yeah, very rarely do we show up to a motor vehicle accident and not have fire or rescue come out
okay.
as precautionary or, you know, that type of thing, but 9 times out of 10 they're there. Yeah, yeah, and a lot of it too is, you know, a passerby calls in a motor vehicle accident, they call 911. Dispatches, they don't know, so they're automatically gonna tone out fire and rescue and just get everybody going. You know, a lot of times that will happen. We'll show up and we'd be like, yeah, it's simply a car off the road. You can cancel everybody. And that happens once in a while, but not very often.
Mr. Riegel.
Chief, what is the nature of the arrests? Are they mostly in the drug enforcement area? or-
This past month, let's see. One was drugs, the others were assaults, and one was a restraining order violation.
Okay.
Yeah. So this month it was one. It was drugs. Yeah.
So that's a good sign if the number of drug arrests are down, or is it a bad sign?
Well, I guess it depends on how you want to look at it.
Yes.
It's a good sign the police are doing their job if it's up, I guess, and we're in down, so yeah.
They're not getting.
I would rather see
Right.
them, knowing that my guys are out there doing what they need to do, I would rather see the numbers down, because if they're down, then I know that we're having an effect. But if I know Tyler and Sean, and I'm out there as often as I can stopping cars and this, that, and the other, and the numbers are just still going through the roof, then yeah, we got a problem.
Right.
You know, but no, I know my guys are out there doing what they gotta do, and the numbers aren't crazy. I mean, when Tyler first started in full-time patrol, it was insane, the amount of meth he was getting out of cars and stuff like that, and now it's just gonna drop right off the table. So,
Do you foresee the summer coming,
Uh-huh.
all of this going up?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, the warmer months, people are out and about more. They come from other communities, you know, I think Effingham still has that reputation of let's go on the back roads in Effingham and, you know, mess around because nobody's out there or whatever. We're working to try to change that. I think it's changing slowly. But nonetheless, I think the warmer months are gonna bring more of that, so.
Yeah, in one of the stops recently, I was told by one of the officers that when the person was pulled over, it was like, well, Effingham doesn't have cops out at night. So the reputation of what we didn't have in the past is still being ripped down, taken down.
Yeah.
So it's gonna, the trend of, you know, could be up or down, month to month, or quarter to quarter. When you're looking at drugs, you gotta look at them over a year or two to see what the trend line is for the town. But the goal is to take us out of the being known as the drug haven of this area. And that is the reputation we have, unfortunately.
Well, I hate to say this, but almost all times.
It's bad, yeah,
Yes, I mean,
it
no
is.
Wakefield.
It's bad.
Really.
Yeah, it's bad. Effingham though, and I will say, it, even before I came to work here, it always though seemed to have that little bit above the rest, that reputation of, you know,
Yeah.
we'll go over there. Let's
Yeah.
go over there and get it.
Because we didn't have.
You just didn't have the patrols and the visibility out there. Really, that's what it comes down to. You know what I mean? They see a cruiser and they're gonna be like, okay, yeah, let's go for you. You know, or somewhere else. That being said, with the warmer months coming, what I'll be doing with Tyler is normally he works like a 3 to 11 shift right now. I'll be backing him up to 6 p to 2 a shift, so he'll be working a little bit later at night. So he'll be up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll even throw in some midnights over there throughout the summer. Generally, we don't put any on in the complete overnight hour because there's really, I'll be honest with you, there's no calls. Really, they're very few and far between. We don't get called out a lot, which is a good thing. The majority of our activity is between like 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. really in this town. So, but yeah, just as a little bit more of a deterrent for the partiers, so we work in a later shift, so you'll see a car out there late this summer. Yeah.
I did see this morning on the news that in Manchester, they had an influx of fentanyl,
Okay, yes,
something or
yep.
other. So that's probably going to be a problem
No doubt,
later on, yeah.
no doubt. Yep,
There's
Yep.
that thing too about the fentanyl in the kids' candy or something.
Yeah.
yeah,
Or the kids' drugs.
yeah, it's insane.
Sad.
Yep, it is. It is, and heroin is the big thing to lace with fentanyl. You know,
Do we still have police officers going to the school, grade schools, elementary schools?
Do we?
and Yeah.
so we go in as often
Anything with them?
as we can. COVID kind of put the kibosh on that a little bit. They didn't, you know, I mean, I don't think they wanted us coming in all the time, you know, but
Well,
we do go in as often as we can. You know, do the bus in the morning and the afternoon as often as we can. Probably not as much as I'd like to. I'd like to get in there more, you know, if there were some programs that could be set up that we could actually become a part of. I think it would be great. When I was over in Ospey, we had the after school program. Ospey PD had their own club, which was pretty cool. You know, kids could be part of that club and they'd hang out with police officers for an hour and a half after school. And, you know, whatever, play games with them, soccer, whatever. But things like that.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, Liz?
Just a comment that, we collected $163.54 Saturday for our 6th grade promotion.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
So
Good job.
Super.
Good job.
people are generous,
Yes, they are.
yes.
Yes, they are.
Voting day, I don't know if it was Maria or Sean, they were looking for a JP. Yeah, here.
Okay.
Do you use a JP a lot?
Yeah, fairly often.
Would that be something you'd be interested in?
Well, Barkowitz is the JP.
Yeah, but he'd be working. so.
Um,
I never thought about it, considering.
Deanna let hers lapse, so,
Oh, she did?
yeah.
Okay,
So I think
Okay.
Sean had to go to Ossipee.
gotcha.
I just didn't know how often they used them.
Yeah, we need a JP usually to sign our tickets or our complaints, things like that.
Yeah, talk to me about it.
Will do.
Anything else? Thank you very much, Chief.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Leave these for you.
Thank you.
There's copies of all these stats here, if anybody wants them. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Have a good
Joe.
day.
Thank you.
Yeah, you should.
All right, public comment. The floor is open. Go ahead, Vicki. Yeah.
Yeah. Town meeting.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed in the microphones not being loud enough, people not talking into them. Noise and background, and I'm not saying the kids, before everybody has a Honda. But there was a lot of people rustling and, you know. I think we need maybe, and people not walking to the mic, way over there, they don't want to walk way over there. Is there any way of having a microphone that, the year that some kids were running with a microphone to the people so they could talk, you could hear better and it was clearer and you could understand
I'm
what
thinking,
people saying, they were mumbling.
I'm thinking based on what you're saying, we need to have a discussion with the new moderator, because that's actually the moderator position
Okay.
to govern that kind of stuff. I don't know if that additional flexible microphone even exists anymore, because I haven't seen it in a couple of years, but it might. Pam was brand new, the custodian. That was the first time she was there. So the volume control was something that she had no experience with. So it was a learning experience for us next year, basically make sure we test the microphones a little bit better.
Yeah.
As far as having people speak into the microphone, I will tell you after my 30-something years of experience in doing conferences and presentations, you are not going to solve that problem. You can mention it every minute and you're still not going to solve it. And that's a downside. But being able to get microphones to people, I think we can check with the school to find out for next year, do we have at least a couple of portable mics that could be put around? But I think the conversation, we need to have that conversation with the moderator, because ultimately it's their position on how they want to run that floor.
My observation was that the microphone often wasn't high enough for people.
Right, doing this.
Yeah, and so I think, as you said, testing it beforehand, the placement of it, and that would be helpful.
There was only, I mean, we did test it ahead of time, but just to see if it was on. Nobody was doing any
Right.
speaker
Right.
testing to see if you
Yeah.
could hear it at different parts of the room. So that's a learning.
I think that one was at first kind of facing the stage, where if we had it facing the moderators / the audience and had people this way instead of this way, it might be helpful. So I think,
Yeah, because I mean, people were trying to address the audience when they should have been addressing the moderator.
Right.
Well, but that's part of what the moderator can do when they're up front, setting the stage for the meeting, so to speak.
He'll be here later on.
Huh?
He'll be here later on. You can talk to him.
I don't need a microphone. Yeah, hear me.
I think in Milford, the way they did it is the microphone was between the people, so it was in front of the moderator, so the person when they stood at the mic was looking at the moderator and the public was over here,
Right.
and that forced them to do it that way, and that might be a way to set it up instead of the way it was.
I'm sure Jim has got some ideas on that one. I was watching, he was observing a lot of stuff the other day, so
Yeah.
he was taking notes. So, any other public comment? Okay. Hey, do we have a need for a non-public?
I have none.
I don't have anything either. We will be having a recount of the one-year selectman's position at 11 o'clock this morning. So those that want to stay around, stay around. Other than that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
1 second.
All those in favor, full aye.
All right.
Thank you very much, folks.